Hello everyone, and welcome to the third Google Ad Manager Summer Livestream. My name is Teresa, and I'm a Google Optimization Specialist, and I'll be your host again for today. So we have quite a long agenda today. So the first thing that we'll start by is by working through, so as I mentioned, this is the agenda. Feel free to post any questions in the chat box, and we'll go through the presentation and answer them at the end of each section. If we don't answer your question today, please feel free to write a comment in the box below the video and check the facts and questions doc that will be sent in the follow-up email to see if we answered your question there. Due to technical difficulties, we won't be able to live stream to our European audience. However, there is a link in your email to re-register and watch live in North American time, or you can always ask questions in the comment section and we'll answer them in the FAQ doc. We appreciate your patience and your flexibility here. Today's session will cover ad formats and competition. We'll deep dive on some best practices and ways that you can implement these optimizations in your Opportunities tab or manually in your Ad Manager account. Throughout the session, we'll call for questions, so feel free to put questions into the chat box as we move through these slides. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is cover native ads. So what are native ads? Native ads are ads that look and feel more like your site or app. They can provide a beautiful, relevant, and effective ad in any situation on any device. Because of their design, native ads can often be better received by their audiences and be a lot more effective in advertisements. With Ad Exchange, your native ads can also compete directly against the display network. So there are multiple benefits to native ads for Ad Manager users. Programmatic native ads on Ad Manager provides a unique balance of scale and flexibility with a wide range of tools that enable you to create more engaging native ads. So we usually get better ad experiences. Our users have cited that in-feed native ads are 18% less distracting than in-feed banners, and they also tell us that a well-designed native ad makes a site feel a lot more cohesive. We also see a much higher click-through rate. Native ads can lead to a higher click-through rate and more user engagement, and publishers have seen that their click-through rate has increased by 1.5 times, and cost per click has actually increased by 22% on average. So this is all based off of recent data that compares Ad Exchange native and banner ad performance in the same ad slot. There's also higher CPMs. What's great is that native ads are able to go and compete against the Google Display Network in Ad Exchange. So this actually allows you to go and increase competition on both ad formats and ad sizes. So in these auctions, the native ads will compete against the Google Display Network based off of CPM. So in this case, native ads only win when there's an actual higher CPM and thereby increases competition for your existing inventory. So all you're doing is essentially just opening up an extra demand source. You also get a ton of new inventory opportunities. By adding new native formats, you create new opportunities for buyer competition, which can result in a positive revenue uplift. You can also find new ways to incorporate ads into your page. For example, if you have feeds or grids of content where some ad formats or banners might provide a distracting user experience, you can instead use native ads and fill those slots so that way you're not hurting the user experience there. In your Opportunities tab, you might see a recommendation to add native formats. This opportunity has been specifically recommended to you by Ad Manager based on our analyses. To determine whether to recommend this opportunity, Ad Manager first looks at other publisher networks in your vertical, such as entertainment, news, etc., and recommends native formats that are performing well to your peers. If we find a native format that might improve your revenue, we'll calculate projected lift metrics and suggest to you to add the format to selected ad units that are already eligible for native Ad Exchange traffic. So to begin implementing native ads, you'll need to do a bit of background work to determine what your native strategy is going to be. There are essentially three routes you can go: new native inventory, native-only inventory, or hybrid inventory. New native inventory is where a publisher leaves their banner inventory intact and then adds new native-only inventory where they might have been adverse to putting an ad in the past. Common locations include inside feeds or grids of content and mixed in with search results where they closely mimic the surrounding elements on the page. Native only is where a publisher who is adverse to banners and is transitioning to native as their only advertising format. Or you can have a hybrid, where a publisher who uses our A publisher who uses our hybrid, where you have mixed native and banner, feature to increase yield of existing banner slots by adding native demand to the auction. This strategy can be combined with new native-only inventory. One thing to note is that select third-party buyers will not buy hybrid inventory out of a desire to retain more control, but they will buy native only if that is the only way to access that inventory. So there are two critical points for publishers to consider when starting native are placement and styles. When it comes to placement, it's extremely critical for your native strategy. Publishers really need to consider where is the best place to implement native on your site or app. Styles as well. So creating a good-looking, high-performing native ad requires effort and skill. We strongly encourage publishers to use our templates as a starting point and to involve your design and engineering teams in the process. So if you have a native formats opportunity in your account, you can easily implement by viewing your opportunities and clicking apply. These opportunities are broken down by relevant ad units that are eligible for native ad exchange traffic. The great thing is that even if you don't have the opportunities card, you can still get started with native ads. To do so, you can go into your native tab and create a native ad. We'll send out a guide after this session along with the video so you can review the step-by-step instructions on how to implement native. This GIF here just gives you a brief overview of what your step-by-step instructions would be. And there are also two ways that you can report on native formats, either via a creative size dimension or via the native style name and native ad format name dimensions. Again, more step-by-step instructions will be linked in our follow-up feedback email. So to get the most out of your native ads, these are the best practices I wanted to make sure to highlight. 1, understand advertiser expectations for native ads. Advertisers want the native ads that they bid on to have certain features, so make sure your ads have the following. Respect the image ratio and don't distort the image. Allow the advertiser's brand or logo on the ad. You can do this by including the advertiser name and or logo fields. Advertisers can see in the bid request whether these features are available, and some advertisers will not buy native unless they see both the advertiser and logo name available. You also want to include more assets as long as it fits the surrounding content. Make sure your text is easy to read and that the style fits the style of the rest of your site. You also want to make sure to go and use fluid size ads instead of fixed sizes. Fluid sizes stretch to the full width of their container and feel a little bit more natural and typically perform better. The main downside is that they do require setting up a new tag on the page. The only time you should create a fixed size native ad is if you're unable to update the existing tag. So if you don't have the technical experience to update your tag but want to continue using native, you might want to create fixed sizes even though it's not always the most recommended thing to do. So you'll also want to go and download the native playbook. This playbook is incredibly useful to help you with design principles that you can use to create strong performing native ad styles that meet advertiser expectations. This can also be found in the Help Center. We also talked a little bit about placements, but you always want to make sure that you're putting the right ad in the right place. Before you begin creating native ads, make sure you really think through your strategy and that you're developing a strategy. So a couple of questions to go and ask yourself: do I need new native ad slots, or can I use existing ad slots? This will help you determine what needs to be created. Another question to ask is, do I have product and design support in-house? Do I have in-house CSS support? If you answered yes to these, you might want to custom design your own native ads. If you answered no, that's why Google has these provided templates for a simpler creation process. You can also let your native ads compete with ad exchange so that you're opening up additional demand sources. By allowing your native ad units to compete, you introduce more competition based off of format, and more competition usually leads to higher CPMs and more revenue for you. One of the best ways to improve your native performance is to test and optimize through A/B testing. So here you'll find instructions on how to set up an A/B experiment through Ad Manager. Don't worry, this will also be included in the implementation guide, but you can also review this video for, again, the step-by-step instructions or video for you to go and see how to set that up, but you can review all of this here. So it's important to be conscious of where you place different types of native ads and how you should style them. Here's an example of how native ads perform within a feed. When a native ad is in a feed, it should very closely match your site and app's layout. So there's a lot more design elements that you need to go and incorporate here. Plan on starting with pre-made template, but make significant edits to the CSS for layout, font, and styling. Again, you can always refer to the native playbook in the Help Center and visit our material design website to learn more about design best practices. Here, you'll be able to see an example of the native ad within an article or a text. This works best on mobile, and there isn't much of a need to customize outside of font and occasionally color. Here you can start with a pre-made template and edit the CSS for font and color. As I mentioned in terms of best practices, you do want to make sure that you're only using native when it's blending into your content. That's when they do perform best. We don't recommend using native ads sitting outside of content, so you can use your traditional ad units there. So I wanted to take a quick pause here to see before we move on to the next section to see if we had any questions on native. As we're waiting for questions, something that I do get a lot from my publishers are how do you allow native ads to go and compete with Ad Exchange? One thing is to note is that native ads are always, once you turn them on, you can allow them to go and compete. So you are increasing competition on both ad format and ad size. So in these auctions, the native ads will compete against the GDN network or GDN based off of CPM. So that way, native only wins when it's going to outbid other ad formats. And you can also go and read more about our native ad best practices on our blog. A question that I received is, why do we recommend fluid sizes? This is because it's a native ad size that allows more flexibility when styling your ad itself. So Ad Manager automatically sizes the ad by filling the width of the enclosing column and adjusting the height as appropriate. So it just allows it to blend a little bit more into your content than a fixed ad size would. However, as we mentioned, you do want to lay that out against whether or not you have the technical abilities to do so. Any other questions before we move on to the next section? So the next question we received is, does the ECM of native ad differ depending on what native elements we included in the style? So you want to go and think about native ads as being, like the more native an ad usually has a higher click-through rate, and like users are more, how do you say, they like it more, and so there's usually a higher click-through rate and they engage with it a little bit more. So in a way, yes, depending on the native elements that you include in your styling, and the more work you put into the styling, you generally do have a higher CPM and higher click-through rate there. Yeah. The next question, let me make sure I understand this. So it seems like the question is, do you have to add, in order to go and use fluid sizes, do you need to use the tag on the web page to add the native demand? So the main thing about fluid sizes is that you do need to go and change the tag that's actually on the page. So it's not so much about putting in the tag to add the native demand in. You just want to make sure that you have the capabilities of, the technical capabilities of changing the tag. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the reason for this is because fluid sizes can stretch to fill the full width of your content unit and container versus fixed size can't. So there's a little bit more of a difficult and technical implementation to this. We can always go and send you more information about how to create fixed versus fluid ad sizes as well in our follow-up email. The next question is, do I need a fixed width or height for an ad slot to display native video ads? I think that this one is, since we will be moving on to in-article, in-feed video a little bit later on to this webinar. In that, if you're talking about in-article, in-feed video, there is a fixed width. I believe it's going to be based off of the size of your ad itself. So you shouldn't need to go and change the size of the ad slot. It's all based off of the units that you already have on your page. Because it is Google demand, there are specific size requirements. Like you can't have, like 300 by 250, for instance, is something that can encompass native video and regular in-article, or just regular native. Let's see if we have it. Okay, perfect. As I mentioned, if you think about any other questions as we continue, feel free to add them in and I'll try to answer them at the end of the webinar. All right, so the next format we'll go and discuss, a great segue, is in-article and in-feed video. This is otherwise known as outstream video. So in-article and in-feed video are two different types of outstream ad formats. Outstream video ads are shown outside of a video player and are integrated with your user experience. For example, these ads can appear in articles, social feeds, or between levels of a game. What's great is that in-article and in-feed video compete against your display advertising, and the one with the highest CPM wins, similar to what we just spoke about with our native demand. So in-article video is a video ad between paragraphs of editorial content existing as a standalone branded message. In-feed video is a video ad in content, social, or product feeds. In-feed videos are often native, and they are both in outstream formats supported for fixed display ad slots on both web and apps. Keep in mind, ad slots that enable fixed ad sizes or a combination of fixed and fluid are supported for in-article and in-feed video ads. However, ad slots with only fluid ad sizes are not supported. So this goes back to the previous question that we just had about whether a height and width is needed. The answer is yes, in order for you to have in-feed video here. And so the question is, who should use in-article, in-feed video? This feature is truly ideal for publishers with in-article or in-feed placements that also want to monetize with video ads. The product is specifically relevant to publishers where users consume content in a scrollable feed, such as news publishers, e-commerce, classifieds, and app publishers. In-article and in-feed video enables publishers to grow more inventory and increase revenue on display slots. Publishers can now choose to have this video demand compete with their existing display slots. So a pro tip here is to go and enable in-article, in-feed video where you have high-performing ad slots with high viewability rates where you can then yield the best performance. So you want to ensure that the unit is of highly viewable or is targeted to highly viewable inventory, so that way you're actually earning more revenue through video. Users can have great experiences with outstream video ads. The ads appear within the content of a site and do not block site content. Sound for these ads are also automatically disabled unless requested by the user. When the video is if the video is out of view, the ad will then pause and resume when back in view. So keep in mind, again, really key is that we want to make sure that in-article and in-feed is only targeting slots with very high viewability, so that way you get a better revenue uplift. Outstream video ads have a lot of revenue opportunity for partners because they produce higher CPMs and create more competition for your inventory. So video demand in general has higher CPMs than display. Enabling outstream video demand to compete for existing display inventory can generate higher CPMs and increase revenue. This also allows you to have more competition. In-article and in-feed video enables publishers to grow more video inventory and increase revenue on display slots. Publishers can now choose to have this video demand to compete with their existing display slots. Outstream video ads compete with standard display and native ads in a single ad slot based off of what price the ad bids, creating a unified auction that drives demand up for a slot on the page. And compared with native video, in-article and in-feed video provides a simpler setup with greater access to programmatic demand. Quality video inventory is scarce, and existing programmatic video DSPs are constantly looking for new inventory opportunities to increase their reach on high-quality sites. By opting into in-article and in-feed video, it can help you achieve higher CPMs and meet high demand from video advertisers. So if you have the Enable Outstream Video opportunity, and you just need to go and click Apply, or you can choose to run an experiment on your traffic. When you click Apply, and a protection is created that opts in the video ad experience for mobile devices. So this includes both apps and mobile web browsing. When calculating this opportunity, we predict the impact by opting into Outstream Video demand. This is done by aggregating the average impact that Outstream Video demand has on similar inventory. If you don't have this opportunity available, you still have access to this really cool feature. You can still enable this manually in your Protections tab by toggling to opt into the video ad experience. Again, this GIF shows the steps, and again, step-by-step instructions will be linked so that way you can follow this along later on. So the next two slides will talk about how you can report on Outstream Video and check their performance. These step-by-step instructions on reporting will also be sent in our follow-up implementation guide. But here you can see a little bit more about how to report on the performances with the creative technology dimension and video placement dimension to see how many impressions and how much revenue your video ads are driving. Do note that video placement dimension is still in beta and may not be enabled for your network. If it's not, you can always use the creative technology dimension. Here, this is where we talk a little bit more about the creative technology dimension, where you can report on video creatives itself that's served to your display inventory, and it'll be sorted by ad type as video and product as display. So this will tell you how well your video or your actual in-article in-feed ads or video ads are performing in those ad units. Great. Wanted to take a quick pause here before moving on to see if we had any questions regarding Outstream or in-article in-feed video. So the question is, if a publisher has an in-stream video player on the page and we enable Outstream Video, where both videos are in view at the same time, that would be considered a Google violation. How do we prevent that? So this is where it gets, this is going to be on the publisher to ensure that you're targeting in-article, in-feed video demand to ad slots where that's not going to be happening at the same time. So I would, when you're going into protections and you're adding your targeting, you can be specific about which ads you don't want that to show. So that way if you want to take into account like user experience where you don't want two videos playing at the same time, that's something that you can go and change that in your targeting or control that within targeting. Any other questions? Okay, so it doesn't seem like we have any more questions, so we'll go ahead and move on. So the next topic that we'll cover is multi-size. So multi-size isn't an ad format, but it has implications on the look and feel of your page and can help you earn the most out of your existing ad units. And multi-size pricing is going to be used on your ad exchange line items and apply to your AdX demand. So what is multi-size? Multi-size is a feature where it allows you to set minimum CPMs for different sizes to compete within a single ad slot. From the example on the right, you can see that there is one large vertical ad slot on the website. When multi-size is enabled, different sized ad units that can fit into the slot are allowed to compete. So here you can see a 300 by 50 size ad unit is competing against a 320 by 100 sized ad unit. The larger unit, 320 by 100, has a higher price than 300 by 250 or 300 by 50. This is because multi-size ensures that buyers pay more for larger sizes by allowing you, the publisher, to set minimum CPM values based on ad size. Multi-size is a great solution because it allows for more creative ad sizes, which opens up your inventory to more buyers and increases competition. Higher competition can mean higher prices and more revenue for you. Multi-size can be a great yield optimization opportunity for publishers for multiple reasons. You're allowed to set floors so that buyers pay more for larger sizes. It also allows you to optimize yield when there are valid bids of different sizes, even though that doesn't necessarily guarantee revenue uplift. And it offers aesthetic benefits, as multi-size allows the ad slot to adapt to the actual size of the ad being served. You can set multi-size pricing rules within the Unified Pricing Rules section of your Ad Manager account. So to help explain a little bit more about multi-size, we'll walk through a quick example. You can set different floors on inventory sizes that are considered more valuable than others. Usually a larger banner, like a 970 by 250, might be more valuable than a smaller ad at 120 by 20. So let's say, for instance, you have 3 inventory sizes for an ad request: 970 by 250, 728 by 90, and 728 by 120. You'd like to charge buyers more for the larger size while offering the option of a lower price for the smallest size. So this is where you're able to go and create a pricing rule for these sizes via Unified Pricing Rules. Using Unified Pricing Rules, you can set 3 different floor prices within the same rule. As you can see on the right, we've set a floor price for $3 for the largest ad size, 970 by 250, $1.50 for the 728 by 90, and a lower floor price for all other sizes. So within this setup, buyers can submit bids for all 3 sizes, and the highest bid across all sizes above the floor price wins. So while multi-size pricing is not available in the Opportunities tab, you can still enable this within your Ad Exchange line items for multi-size pricing very easily. All you need to do is edit the Ad Exchange line items where you'd like to include multi-size and click Generate a multi-size creative to use as the creative. This is a key step. So if you don't use that Generate Multi-Size Creative button, you won't actually be able to serve multi-size creatives. You do want to make sure that you are setting multi-size pricing rules to take advantage of this as well. So you want to click into your Inventory tab, select Pricing Rules, then click New Unified Pricing Rule. In this section, you can name your rule and allow it to target all of your inventory, and you can set one price rule per ad size. And make sure you click Set Price Rule rather than Set Target CPM. In terms of best practices, when possible, you do want to enable multi-size pricing for all of your inventory. The majority of buyers do support multi-size pricing, but for those that do not, multi-sizes do not get passed along in the requests. So make sure you're asking buyers if they support multi-size bidding. Typically, it's also good to only set one floor price for a given size. In the event that there is more than one floor price set for the same size, the highest floor would apply. And here, there's a little bit more information on how you can report on multi-size pricing. You do want to ensure that you're running a historical report to compare creative sizes to requested sizes. And this will show you which ad size that your tag requested and which size ad was actually being delivered to that space. So these results for various metrics also include impressions, eCPM, and more. You do also want to go and use your historical report for the Unified Pricing Rule dimension, so that way you can see what pricing rules apply to given ad requests. So it's a great way for you to get a little bit more visibility here. And again, we'll send out this information so you can have more information on how to report step by step. And so because multiple pricing rules are in effect for multi-size requests, no pricing rules can be attributed to unmatched requests. Any unmatched requests that you receive within your report within the report will go and show, as you see here, where no pricing rule was applied. So we are close to the end here, so I wanted to take a quick pause if we have any questions regarding multi-size pricing. All right. Well, it doesn't seem like there are any questions coming through, but one thing I wanted to go and advise that I always go and advise my publishers is that in terms of best practices, you want to go and set your multi-size pricing rules in your pricing rule tab. So that way you are valuing like bigger inventory. So if you have a 300 by 600 and you want to also serve 300 by 250s, make sure that if that ad is taking up a really large space, you can definitely maximize that by having multi-size pricing rules. Any other questions? All right, so it doesn't seem like we have any questions regarding multi-size specifically. But in the meantime, I know that we had quite a few questions from our UPR live stream that happened last week. So I wanted to take the time to go and address any questions that we had there. Oh, actually, one question popped up before we move forward. Should we be using target CPM or pricing rules when setting multi-size pricing rules? You want to be using pricing rules. You do not want to be using target CPMs. Any other questions? Okay. So as I was just mentioning, we are going to move into some questions that we had flow through regarding UPR or Unified Pricing Rules. So I wanted to make sure that we go and address those. One, can we rewatch live streams? Absolutely. You can visit our live stream website, and you can also go and find the library, and you'll be able to see the recording and previous webinars that we've created. And another question regarding the first price auction of when all the traffic will be transferred. So we're anticipating that all traffic will be transferred to the first price auction either in late August or early September. To prepare, you want to watch last week's live stream so you can find the link in our follow-up email. Additionally, the Help Center has extensive information about how you can recreate your setup in a first price world. Search for the article titled Transition Schedule to First Price Auction and scroll down to the late August section for advice. Another question that we received a lot is, what is the impact of unified pricing rules and a first price auction? So the switch to unified pricing rules and a first price auction was driven by a need to create a simpler and more transparent and sustainable auction. Initially, it will require some work on your end to update pricing rules. However, in the long term, you should see time savings and an improved revenue sustainability. It's simple because buyers end up paying what they bid, significantly reducing the need for you to constantly optimize floors. It's also more sustainable because the highest bidder wins and they pay what they bid, reducing the need for complex monetization strategies. And finally, it's more transparent because you'll have complete visibility into every single bid on every auction. In summary, it's supposed to be easier for buyers, easier for publishers, and it could lead to increased programmatic revenue sustainability in the long term. Another question that we have is, what is the strategy for anonymous pricing rules in UPR? So UPR actually does not support anonymous pricing rules as it's not compliant with ads anymore, and with ads and ads.txt standards. When transitioning your anonymous pricing rules to unified pricing rules, you can set the same targeting from your open auction rules, but you have to set them to either branded or semi-transparent. Something that I do recommend is that because anonymous inventory is disappearing entirely, you do want to make sure that the floors that you're setting for like semi-transparent and branded is generally lower than what you're doing in a non-first price auction or in the second price auction that we currently have. And another question that we'll address today is, how are direct sales impacted by UPR? So direct sales have a negotiated CPM and are not impacted by unified pricing rules. When pricing rules are set, unified pricing rules apply only on the open auction, private auctions, first look demand, third-party exchanges, remnant line items, and ad exchange linked accounts. All right, so do we have any additional questions regarding any of the topics that we covered before we move forward? So one thing that we received is, where can we give feedback on future webinar topics that we want to see? So again, we've referenced this before, but make sure that you're reviewing the emails that we're sending you after all of these live streams. Our survey will be sent out after this webinar, where you can let us know about more topics that you want to learn about, so we can produce more valuable content that you're interested in. Any last questions before we wrap up here? So the question is, should we start using UPR by now, like UPR now, or is it still in beta? It technically is still in beta, where it's about 10% of your traffic is going through the first price auction. We do recommend that you do set up some UPR rules if you have some things that you need to start taking into account in terms of your strategy. So that way, when we do transition fully over in late August or early September, you're prepared. So I would recommend that you start using it now, so you can see how this is going to affect your traffic. But as of right now, it's about 10%, it's affecting 10% of your traffic. And we will be fully launched to 100% late August or early September. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining the live stream today. Later today, as I mentioned several times, you will receive an email with a survey. So please provide your feedback on this. And as a reminder, due to technical difficulties, we won't be able to offer live streams for our European audience. But leave your questions in the comments section, and we'll do our best to answer them in the FAQ doc. Next week, we'll go ahead and discuss how to increase your demand. So thank you all for joining today. Have a great day.